OneThird Podcast. This is episode 37. You sleep for 1/3 of your life. You work for 1/3 of your life. What are you gonna do with the rest?
What's
One
good?
third.
What's good? We back.
37.
Today, we're gonna be talking
37.
about self-awareness and kind of the different aspects to self-awareness. Yeah, we have talked about self-awareness a little bit previously on this podcast if you've been following our episodes that we've released, but today I want to dive more deeply into like the 5 different aspects of self-awareness. So just to put them out there, it's self-perception, your body, your thoughts, your emotions, and your feelings. And they might sound similar when we say thoughts, emotions, and feelings, but the way that you look at those 3 do need to be different. So we're gonna break down them more specifically and get into them. I want to start off with self-perception though. I think that's the one that we've dived into it a little bit, but not as juicy as we can. So I just want to hear what's your guys' opinion of that word in itself? Like when I say self-perception, what's the first thing that comes to your guys' mind?
What even is self-perception?
Self-perception is kind of who you are as as your identity and like how you view your identity opposed to like other people. Because we are all individual and we are all unique in certain ways that we think.
Yeah.
So your self-perception would be that uniqueness. Like what makes you, you.
For me, I think I related that a lot to confidence levels and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think that you can have good self-perception without being the most confident person, but I think you need to have some level of confidence. And I don't mean arrogance necessarily, but you can have like humble confidence, you know what I mean? And know
Mhm.
what your value is.
Mm-hmm.
Know where
know-
you are, like your spot.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel that.
What do you think?
I say the same thing, to be honest. I'd say I like the confidence thing. It's like that's always kind of been there, you know what I mean? So like wherever I go, wherever I think, I'm always chest out, chin up, you know what I mean? Always.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be like a good way to kind of grow that confident self-perception? Because I feel like
I
a
just
lot of sorry,
Go ahead.
I feel like a lot of people, they struggle with their identity of who they are, and they struggle realizing what they're capable of. Because I feel like they have doubt, like you said, they're not always confident in themselves. But I feel like there's more to that than just not having confidence. There's more to your self-perception than just one side of it, you know?
Yeah,
I say just be you, to be honest.
Yeah, but what would you say that you do that other people don't? Like you said, just be you. So what's a little piece of your self-perception that you would say is you, that makes you you?
Consistency.
Okay. So your ability not to waver from a decision. So once you make a decision, you
You're
follow
stuck
it.
on it. You're determined, you know what I
Okay.
mean?
That's pretty good. And that definitely is one way to build confidence in yourself. Obviously, doing the same thing over
Or maybe
and over
doing
again.
or maybe like doing something that you like, going to the gym or stuff
Mhm.
like that, and build
Mhm.
that confidence, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way because that's kind of trusting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because we talked about that too. You kind of have to trust in yourself that you're going to get stuff done. I have to trust in myself that come 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:15 in the morning, when that alarm's ringing, I have to trust in myself that I'm going to get up and go to the gym and go edit, even though I do not want to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that when you put yourself in uncomfortable positions like that, sometimes you force yourself to get comfortable in the uncomfortableness. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
I
So I
mean.
feel like that can slowly create confidence, because if somebody were to say, hey, you're lazy, or you don't do that good, you don't do that good, you could be like, you don't really know me.
Exactly.
I know myself. I think
Mhm.
knowing yourself is very important, which is self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a way that is easy to find that maybe without doing a physical activity, because I always relate getting a little bit happy and in a better space mentally with putting yourself through like physical hardship,
That's a good point too.
because you kind of get in a dark place when you do that.
Yeah.
But I think that finding your passion is really important,
Me too.
because then you know like where the inside wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled with that because I had all the physical and the athletics, and my body was pretty down. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I feel like I had that under control, but I did not know what my passions were. I didn't know what my purpose was.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote down on the notebook here. I'm using this bad boy. This is the first number 37, baby. Introduction. I'm happy, but I wrote down Dharma because I've said this multiple times, but Jay Shetty in his book says that you need to find your Dharma is when you use your passion / your purpose, which is in and around the same thing, not necessarily, but in and around the same thing, and you use that in service of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So that's just what I think. If you can find your passion, find what you really want to do, what your heart wants to do, and then it's very hard, but just go follow that.
So what do you think one good way to find that self-perception? Like you're talking about self-perception as a side of like passion. Like
Mhm.
what do I deep down really enjoy doing? And I feel
Yep.
like that is something that a lot of people have troubles with. So what do you think would be a way to kind of learn
Stop
what your
thinking-
passion is?
I would say stop thinking inside the fucking box.
Okay,
Think
That's a good
outside
point.
of it.
that's
You know
fair.
what I
That's
mean?
fair.
Think outside of it. Think of ways that no one's really done before. You know what I mean? Things that like help you, make you feel good. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Okay, so what about you? What do you think would be ways to build that kind of self-perception of what your passion is?
I think again, you kind of have to get a little bit uncomfortable, like
Mhm.
whether it become meditating or just becoming one with your thoughts or doing a lot of research, or a big part of it might be changing around people who you hang around with.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your circle and the people who you're around with each and every day, you're going to absorb that energy no matter what.
You're the common denominator of
For
the
sure.
people you hang around.
Most definitely. So if you're not around people who want to achieve the same things or don't have the same passion as you do, or whatever the
It's gonna be
case,
hard then.
yeah, maybe it's comfortable. Maybe these are your homies. Maybe it's just comfortable to just go hang around them, but it might be toxic people. So be comfortable with making that change, even though it's going to seem very, very new.
Okay, so the two things
do you
I've
think?
kind of taken from you guys is one, consistency. The best way to find out who you are deep down is to be consistent with whatever you do, so you can realize if you truly like it or not, and you can kind of grow an idea of if that would be good for the perception that you have of yourself.
Mhm.
The second thing I took from you, Tyson, is just for like a better way to word it, I guess you're saying be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Definitely.
So throw yourself in the most uncomfortable position, and once you get comfortable there, don't stay there. Keep
Mhm.
throwing yourself in more uncomfortable situations until you do realize where I guess you would be best fit being comfortable. Because there are some points in your life where you do have to be comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
You kind of that's how you grow your ability in certain areas is to
Sure.
be comfortable where you are so that you can grow there. But
Mhm.
like you're saying, the best way to understand yourself is to first be uncomfortable.
Definitely. And I think that you're able to be, this is going to sound so weird. It's hard. It's even hard for me to say this, but I think the more you make yourself uncomfortable, you're going to be more comfortable in those uncomfortable situations. So your comfy might be somebody else's uncomfortable. You know
So-
what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think that a better word to say there is you'll be more confident
Yeah,
in
that's
those
true, that's
uncomfortable positions. Because you're not
That's
going to be
true
more
too.
comfortable in them, but you're going to be more confident in your ability to handle
Yeah, that's
that
true.
uncomfortable position.
That's a good point. What's your
Mm.
take on that?
So I would say that, yeah, obviously I agree that you do have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and you do have to be consistent.
Mhm.
But I think to a certain extent, it's a little simpler. You just have to kind of, I don't know. Let me think of a way to explain it. Like what I do to be more self-aware and to be like have a better perception of myself is I challenge my own views.
Okay.
So when I have a view in my head, I play devil's advocate. I don't just stick to one viewpoint. And I think that like you said, consistency, as well as putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, but also being open to those uncomfortable situations mentally.
Right.
Like not just be locked in one viewpoint.
Yeah.
Always say I don't like chocolate because I say it's too sweet. Well, I don't like chocolate, but let me think of why somebody else would like
I know
chocolate.
what
So
you're saying.
just
Yeah.
playing both sides of the table, I think, is
Yeah.
the easiest way to kind of find out which side you land on.
Definitely. We mentioned how important being open is in the last podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities that in life that will present itself if you just have an open mind, whether
Mhm.
it be something as so simple as finding out whether somebody doesn't like chocolate or finding out what's it like to live in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Just like all across the
Just
globe.
just opening your view and allowing your view to be open and not just
Definitely.
closed off. I feel like that's why a lot of people don't truly find themselves is because they're too stuck in certain ways of thinking that they're not able to actually open up to who they might be.
That's a good point. Maybe
Mhm.
they can't picture themselves
Yeah.
at that person, like at that time doing something, but maybe
Mhm.
that's your passion.
Yeah, you
Maybe
never
can't
know.
picture yourself up cleaning up garbage every Sunday, but maybe that's what your passion is.
Yeah, exactly, right? So there's just the little things like that I think that help your self-perception of who you are and like where you're trying to go, right? And obviously, like we said, there's 5 different areas, so we kind of cover self-perception right here.
I have one more quote after.
Mhm.
Sorry, before you carry on. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no worries.
I really want to get this out the way, but Jay Shetty again, he said this thing and it stuck with me so goddamn hard. I think I said this before in a podcast and it was like that 50 thing in the Get Rich or Die Trying movie when he's like, I feel like I was right. But I could have
Yeah.
been right, but I could have been wrong. So I was right. But I could have been wrong.
Yeah, I like that
Like he
one.
says that stuff, but
Mhm.
he says that I am not who you think I am. I'm not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am what I think you think I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
like, it's very hard to.
You're putting on that mask
Yeah,
to kind
but-
of appease somebody else's perception of who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like a lot of younger people will actually relate to that more than our older audience, because a lot of kids, I think that's what they deal with a lot during their younger years. They're trying to live up to who their parents want them to be. They're trying to go be a doctor just because their parents say be a doctor. They're being the engineer because their parents said be the engineer. Or maybe it's just the littlest things. They're playing sports because their parents say so. Or eating healthy because their parents say so, and not necessarily because they want to eat healthy.
I understand.
And
Maybe they act different around the homies in LA class. Maybe
Mhm.
they act different around the people in math class,
Mm-hmm.
then in science,
Mm-hmm.
then in bio. You know what I mean?
And that has
All
a little
different.
that has a little to do with the consistency. That has a little to do with
That's true, yeah.
being uncomfortable and not being confident in being uncomfortable, and that
Mhm.
also has a little bit to do with their closed minds.
Definitely.
Whether or not they close their own mind, because a lot of that is pressure through your family to
Mhm.
be viewed a certain way and to view life a certain way. But
Yep.
I think self-perception relates to one of those three things, and I think we all brought a little something to the table on that topic.
Definitely.
So I want to move in to the next topic, and
Mhm.
you kind of tipped your fingers or dipped your toes into it a little bit. And the second part of self-awareness or self-understanding, I would say, is understanding your body. And like you said, I guess you should start off with it because you kind of already led into it. But you said that you really do have a confidence when it comes to knowing your body, and I just want to
Yeah.
know like why, like how did you build that kind of?
I don't know. Well, I think that was instilled in me when I was very young,
Mm-hmm.
because my dad always kind of related it with that. He
Mhm.
related like mental toughness with putting yourself through very hard physical workouts or stuff that you just simply don't want to do. Like he always told me that's what makes me able to handle situations the way that he does and able to stay calm and maybe not get super stressed out about certain things, is because he's constantly putting himself in uncomfortable situations in the gym or training very hard to the point where he doesn't want to, and then a situation comes up in everyday life and it's like, oh, I'm confident in this uncomfortable situation, like you were saying.
Mhm.
So I think that's where that came from. I always related a little bit of mental toughness and kind of training your brain while also training your physical, because you have to convince yourself, no, keep going, keep going. You're on rep number 4, but it feels like rep
Mhm.
number 12, and you're like, that's a 40% rule. Most people quit at 40%.
Mhm.
So you'd say that like was kind of, for lack of a better term, instilled into you from your
Definitely.
parents, kind of like that perception of who you should be. You lived up to that perception of what your family had.
Mhm.
I think so. And I don't know.
Like, do you think it was mainly from your parents, or do you think that growing up you kind of led that?
I think it kind of came
idea.
naturally. No.
I think it kind of came naturally, but I think that I seen it through my dad,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because my dad was doing that.
Mhm.
He was going to the gym when he didn't want
Showed
to.
you basically.
He was showing me.
So
Yeah.
it was less about your understanding of it and your evolution of it, and it was more so just the fact that that's what you seen. So that's what you
Exactly.
did. Monkey see, monkey do kind of thing.
That was
Mhm.
my example. He never said, Tice, you have to do this. You have to work out. You
Mhm.
have to be in shape. You have to be muscular, have a six pack.
Mhm.
Never said none of that. But he said, work on yourself. Do something every day, no matter what it is, like an hour, 2 hours for yourself. He said
Mhm.
most people don't have hobbies, which leads them to go insane or maybe go home and go on autopilot immediately. He always said, do something for yourself each day, which normally related to like a physical activity.
Mhm. Okay, and I just want to, because I asked him, so I want to
Mhm.
know like what your opinion is and kind of what led you down to the path that you are physically. Like, do you physically trust yourself?
Mhm.
Do you-
I would say like I trust my gut a lot. You know what I mean? Like
No, I'm not
person-
talking about your gut though. I'm talking about like your body. Like you
like I know from my body when something's bad or something's good. You know what I mean? It just kind of comes naturally. Or like if I was
I know what
put
you're saying.
if I was put in like a wrong group, I would immediately like my body would immediately tell me like this is not good. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
weird. It's kind of like a freaking power for some reason. You know what I
I
mean?
feel like we're
Like that.
talking more physical though. I think you're talking more mental at the moment. We're
Yeah,
talking
physical.
more physical, like
I think
what-
that could go along with that,
how you
though.
physically trust yourself. Like for me, I know that if I go onto a basketball court, I can trust my ankles, I can trust my knees, I can trust my joints, I can trust all my muscles.
Mhm.
I know how to move all my muscles, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that a lot of people don't have necessarily, the trust in their body.
Mhm.
Because that's maybe because they're not fit enough or they're not,
Mhm.
or you know what I mean?
So like, do you think you would trust your body in that situation?
I would say I trust my body a lot, but sometimes you can trust your body too much to where something could go wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You don't listen to it.
You can listen to
But I
it. What's
Sorry,
up?
go ahead.
No, you can finish.
I think that what you said at first, like the feelings and stuff, I think that can relate a little bit to the physical aspect of it, because I feel like some people's bodies do respond like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe their body, I can speak for that too. So if I'm not in a comfortable situation, I'm not going to be able to perform to the level that I can.
That's
So
what
how do you
mean.
think your body, like the body, I guess you guys are talking about body language, right? Like, but like the emotions that are
necessarily.
construed between like, so body language is like certain things that aren't seen, like they're seen to the eye, but they aren't felt. So I guess one big thing would be crossing your hands. So the second you do this, that's body language telling the other person that you're not in the conversation. Or say you're tapping your feet or you're moving your hands, you're anxious. That's body language just telling people you're anxious.
I think this is energy.
So you're talking more like, okay.
Like you feel the energy, and I know what you're
feel
saying.
it,
Like your
yeah.
body is like, you feel it within your body.
So how does your body react when you feel that energy?
And that's what I mean. It just tells me inside, like,
It sends a message.
it sends a message so quick. Don't do this or do this. You know what I mean?
So what are certain ways
So-
that you would see that physically though? Like not just emotionally, like
Okay.
physically. How would you see
for
that?
example, I'm gonna just say a quick story. In high school, everyone at lunchtime would go smoke a wood at lunch break. You know what I mean? And I'm with that group, but I don't want to be. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I'm with my. It would be like I can say you guys know them all. You know all those people.
Mhm.
That's how I used to be at lunch. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it's like, damn, I'm not even smoking it. But if I'm there with them, it's still the same thing. I can still get in trouble a lot. So
Mhm.
I'm always turning my back, making sure everything's good. You know what I mean? You're just cautious.
Head
and
on a
anxious.
swivel.
That's what I mean. But if you're not there, then you're feeling good. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about getting in trouble or this and that. So that's why I feel like physically it's like, damn, I gotta get out of it. I gotta get out of the situation. You don't want to be here. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
My body sends me a quick message. Just leave, come back after lunchtime, hang out with them after, let them do their thing, come back after. You know what I mean? And that's what my mind. That's what like my mind tells me, or like
Okay.
my physical.
I think I definitely understand where you're coming from when you're
Mhm.
trying to base it just off of like straight
Like more
physical.
physical, like
Mhm.
But I
you
think-
trust more physically than emotionally.
But I think that is very physical though, because some people's physical connects with them faster than their mental does. Instead of getting a mental thought in their brain that does that, their body starts to feel weird and they get tingly, they get uncomfortable, and they're like,
Very
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm
quick.
feeling
and
like this."
that's
and then
exactly
the
what I was
message-
trying to ping.
Yeah.
the
Like
message
that's
gets sent.
physical. Yeah.
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 Or even for example,
Yeah.
when we're sitting in a
Like an
remember that
increased
in the
heart rate.
car,
Mhm,
you know, we're burning up in the car or something, and we got caught or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right before that happened, you remember me and Tyson saying, "Yo,
But I was saying
let's
that the whole day.
let's balance the situation."
That's what I mean though.
Balance
And we
is
were
your-
all able to
Yeah,
tell.
the
We're
whole
all-
day we could tell physically
whole
that something was gonna
environment,
happen. The
yeah.
second we got in the car,
That's what I
we
mean.
knew something was gonna
We're
happen.
finding a spot for an
Yeah.
hour. We get to the spot. We're like, "Nah, this is not it. This
Every
is
single
not it."
we did that like 7 times. We
That's
went to
not-
7 different spots. Said this is not it.
Every
Yep.
single time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And finally, we're like, we got caught. We got kicked in the ass because we're not trusting ourselves enough. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
We ended up just sending it.
We got
You
sent
stop listening to the messages.
exactly.
But
Mhm.
I get what you're saying. It's kind of crazy how like the energy and the mental and also the physical are so
Mhm.
connected, but they like communicate to us such different ways. Like
Mhm.
you said, it can be an increase in heart rate. It could be started to bite your fingernails, started
Just
to like
Mm.
tap
get
your foot, whatever
fidgety.
you
You know what I
said,
mean?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
all that kind of stuff. But I feel like I can kind of relate to what Bashar's saying because I really do think that is a physical aspect of it. But I
And-
get what you're saying
Mhm,
too.
mhm.
Like
So-
I don't get like mentally like scared. I don't get mentally scared.
But you feel more uncomfortable
I feel more uncomfortable physically. You know what I
rather
mean?
than feel just anxiety in your
Mhm.
brain or like
Yeah.
just like overthinking.
Yeah.
So where do you guys think, like when you do feel a physical emotion in your body, where do you feel it first? Would you say?
How I
Where
get,
do you
like,
first
butterflies.
notice that feeling?
I get butterflies.
So your stomach, you'd say?
yeah,
is-
my stomach, my gut.
So what about you, Tyson?
Honestly, I think it depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like if I'm nervous for something I'm about to do, but it could be possibly a good opportunity, like sparring day.
Mm-hmm.
When we're going to Wolf House, I was extremely nervous for sparring day, but I knew it was a good opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't necessarily scared, or I guess you could say it was fear, but
a good
with
fear.
that exactly.
controlled fear.
Yeah.
Exactly. They always say in the monk book that fear is a feeling that gets communicated to us like in all types of scenarios. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You feel fear in good scenarios too, is what I mean to say. It
Mhm.
kind of means like opportunity. So in that kind of scenario, I guess my heart starts racing and I do a little bit of overthinking,
Mm-hmm.
but I can kind of agree with Bashar a little bit. If it's a bad scenario and stuff, like I'm not even going to lie, I'll start shaking. And it's not because I'm scared, but my body's just like, you know
Get
what I
out.
mean? I'm
Get
ready.
out. Yeah.
I'm tense.
You're tense. Get
It's
out.
Actually, a crazy story. Super side. It's not a side topic, but this is kind of relates to that a little bit. Me and Brianna went to a Donair shop the other night. And as soon as we walk in there, about a minute later, this, oh man, crazy, crazy female walks in there.
Really?
Crazy. One of the worst I've ever seen. And she's not like nodding off or itching or tweaking out or anything.
Like, do you think she was on drugs or is she just weird?
I don't know.
Okay.
I couldn't tell if she was on drugs, alcohol, or just like really rude and oblivious.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But she was talking and she's like, hey, you over there. And she's like talking to me and like hitting on me.
No way.
Yeah.
In a Donair shop?
In a
Which
Donair shop.
Which one? Swiss?
No, Wok Donair.
No way.
Over by Bulk Barn.
No way.
Yeah. And then it's horrible.
You guys are
She's
just sitting down eating?
Yeah, she's talking the whole time, talking about sex, talking about this, talking about that. And I'm ignoring her, right? But I get to the point where I'm like shaking because I'm like, oh, like I'm uncomfortable. You know what I mean? My body starts to shake. I start to tap.
Yeah.
I get uncomfortable. I'm starting to look around. I'm like, oh, what happens if I have to defend us? What
Mhm.
happens? Whatever the case.
You would not do anything.
No, but it was just a crazy scenario.
Your body,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
That's
what-
just like that's an uncontrollable reaction that
Yeah.
your body takes.
Exactly.
Oh, I've seen
Mhm.
that. I've seen this guy get that.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
So nothing ended up happening.
Mm.
Before we go on, but I just wanted to say, this lady had the audacity. Somebody bought her food. She didn't like it. She was sitting there. She said, "What am I eating?" And then
Really?
the guy's like, "A falafel." And he's like, "This isn't a falafel. This is gross." And then she got it for
Really?
free.
Really?
Yeah, she got it for free, and she's saying, "This is gross. Make me something else." She gives it back. They make her something else. But crazy.
Anyways,
We left immediately and went and ate Marble Slab. Owner of
Don't-
Marble Slab Clairview, you're a real one. If you ever see this podcast,
Really?
you are a real one. Continue though. Self-perception, knowing ourselves.
self-perception.
I start to shake. My
Mhm.
body starts to tap. I start to get stressed out. And it's just like my body's letting me know, hey, man, potentially something can go down soon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What
So
about you?
on that note, I guess my I have a couple ticks. I guess I'll call them. So the first thing I bite
That's a good way to put it.
I bite my inner cheek. That's definitely one thing that I have. On my inner cheek, I have scars. I legitimately look like Joker.
I'd have
all
to
the
pay
way up
more
the side
attention.
of my inner cheeks. But yeah, like those, and it's just understanding like little ticks. Like for me, I'll definitely tap my leg. That's something that I do a lot when I'm like anxious or have too much energy. I'll tap my leg. Another thing though is I'll go super silent. You ever see me go silent? Like if we're in an interaction and I don't talk to anybody at all, that's when I'm like, yeah, I need to get out of here. That's like one tick for me. But definitely
I could relate to that one.
Definitely the biting of my inner cheek. That's something that I resort to very, very often. Or my lips. I tear my lips up a lot. But that's definitely the one thing that I would say that if I'm doing that, you can tell that I'm anxious or that something's up.
Something ain't right,
I feel
eh?
something. Yeah.
Something ain't right.
Yeah, that's my go-to. And that I guess we talked about the emotional side of your body, and we talked about understanding your emotional cues. That your body does, but like might not even be conscious of it, but you do little things, and to a certain extent, understanding those certain cues and understanding the tics that you have, that you do when you're not feeling comfortable or when you're feeling anxious, whatever the emotion be, those are good to understand because they're unconscious. Like if you start doing it and you start thinking about why am I doing this? Why is my body reacting to this? You kind of understand yourself a little bit more.
Definitely.
I kind of want to go more into like the physical aspect though. Like, do you trust your body physically to be able to undertake tasks like to do hard work, hard manual labor? Do you trust your body in that sense? Like, do you know how to move your muscles? Do you know how to kind of react to certain situations physically, like your fight or flight, or like do you trust your fight more? Do you trust your flight more?
Not
Certain
gonna lie.
aspects like that.
Not gonna lie, it would be to a certain extent. Like you will never ever catch me working like a 10-hour day construction work. You know what I'm saying? I would not trust my body in that situation.
So you think that your body would not be able to handle that?
Not really. Like it
Not
would be able,
consistently.
not
at least.
consistently. I'll be able to do it a couple times, but it will not be forever. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just start. Like you said, that's when I'll start getting anxious. I'll start like breathing really heavy. You know what I mean? Like I just want to get out. That's just how my body is. I can't do something that I don't like physically. I will not be able to do it for long enough. I don't know why. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? Like you'll never ever catch me doing something for a long period of time that I don't want to do.
So on top of that, what do you think you're more confident in, your fight or your flight?
Both.
No, but pick one. Like instant snap, you only have 1 second to respond. Which one are you going to, your fight or your flight?
But you have to give me a scenario.
You're being threatened in some way.
If I'm being threatened, I'm probably gonna fight.
You're gonna fight and not
Yeah,
flight. So you
no,
trust
no.
your fight more than you trust your flight.
Yeah, but if I'm in a But if there's a freaking knife to me or a gun to me, I'm freaking running as fast as I can. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what situation that you put me in.
Okay.
You know what
That's
I mean?
fair. That's fair.
Like I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be so hard headed and selfish to where this could be a dangerous situation for me. You know what I mean? For example, like my brother, he got put in a very bad situation and he was selfish as fuck and got himself hurt.
Yeah,
you know what
he
I mean?
trusts his fight more than he trusts his flight.
yeah.
That's what that.
Maybe he could have avoided that. We don't know.
No, but he trusts his fight more.
That's
That's
what I
why. Like,
mean.
in his head, in the split second, he's the type of dude. He's down to only listen to the fight side.
That's
of it.
what I
He's not
mean.
going to listen to the flight because he trusts his fight more. So that's what I was like saying. Like
But-
in that circumstance, put yourself in the same one. What are you doing?
I'm fighting.
So then you trust your
I'm
fight.
giving up everything that I have. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know. He could have avoided that. That could have never ever happened.
Or it could have gone worse. You never know.
It's true,
Yeah.
You never know.
Who knows? Who knows what flip side of the coin is better in that scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what about
So-
you, Tyson? So getting into kind of what Bashar said about like how long you can trust your body in certain instances. Do you trust your body physically?
Yeah, I think I trust my body actually too much.
Okay.
I think that I don't know when to rest sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I trust that my body is able to work out 5-6 times a week, box 3 to 4 times a week, go on bike rides, go on walks, do stairs, all this kind of stuff. And same with like the mental side of it too. But I'll touch on that a little bit later. But I trust my body a little bit too much. I think
Mhm.
that sometimes I bite off more than I can chew, and I don't rest enough.
Mm.
I don't take enough rest days, and I think that I don't know if that comes with trusting, because I think you have to trust yourself in order to take rest days, and you have to be confident in order to take rest days. But it's almost like I trust that my body can handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like for you, I guess you would say you trust in your body a lot, but the understanding of what your body can handle lacks a little bit.
Lacks a little bit.
You don't really have that understanding of what is really healthy for your body,
Yeah.
but you trust your body to do it no matter what.
It's yeah, for sure, and it's
Mhm.
definitely gotten better over the years. But I wouldn't say that I give myself enough credit at all.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it comes to rest days, whether it comes to even just props, like hey,
Mhm.
good job. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whatever the case, physically, mentally.
Mhm.
And you're gonna ask about the fight or flight.
Yeah, I was gonna get into that. Well, which one do you trust more, your fight or your flight?
I think that I trust my fight more, but that's why I choose flight.
Okay,
If
explain.
that makes sense.
Explain a little bit.
So if a situation like that happens, I'm not gonna let my ego get in the way and be like, oh yeah, you said this, or whatever the case, or get myself into a dangerous situation, because I trust that I can protect myself, and I could trust that I can hold my own, so I don't need to prove that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody were to try and threaten me or to try and do this and that, like you said, I'm definitely going, because I'm not the type of person that feels like I need to protect my ego
Mm-hmm.
and be like, oh, you're trying to be a bigger man than me? Watch, I'm the bigger man.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, no, this is dangerous. I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I trust that I can protect myself and do what I need to do, but I don't need to prove that to just a Joe Blow.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Like you would pick flight in a really like life or death situation. I
And
guess.
I admire that
100%.
because I've done what you just said right there. I've done like, oh, you want to be the big man? Okay, bet. I've done that. I put my situation in that, and it's honestly not worth it. Like
Not
you don't
worth
get
it.
anything out of it.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
what do you literally get zero. You maybe get a little bit of good feeling, but then it's gone. You feel bad the next couple minutes. You know what I mean? Because you just
100%.
beat the dude's ass.
I feel like trusting your fight more is kind of an older sense or like an older ideology, I guess.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
back in the day, it was like this: you want to fight? All right, let's fight. Let's
That's
go
what I
outside.
mean.
Yeah,
Let's handle this right now.
for sure. It was
You
a
know
lot
what I'm
more,
saying?
simpler.
A lot
Just
more
straight.
confrontational. If you handled it right there, you didn't do it later.
Like men.
Straight
Yeah,
king
yeah.
shit. You want to fight? Bet.
Yeah, and that's trusting your fight more. Like if I asked your dad which one he trusts more, he'd definitely say fight.
Mm-hmm.
Bro.
He's sitting there and he's scrapping. He doesn't care. He's not gonna run from you. Why would he run?
Mm-hmm.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? But that also comes with experience, because he's,
Yeah.
you know, like you said, he's been consistently protecting himself. So to
Maybe
a certain
now.
extent,
Yeah, or
Maybe
something.
now his ideas would be different, but maybe
Yeah.
like
Yeah, you're
15
definitely
years
different.
ago,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
or excuse me, 20 or like whatever it was
Bro,
when I was a little one.
do you guys remember the other homie that we used to hang with all the time,
Mm-hmm,
right? Remember one time at youth night? Like, you remember how it used to be half soccer, half basketball?
Mhm.
Yep.
So one time the soccer ball came into the basketball side and it like hit me or whatever, but I didn't care, right? I'm like, whatever, it's all good, because the guy apologized. He's like, sorry. I'm like, it's all right. And then the guy, our other homie, he's like, yo, why is the ball over here? Like, what are you
Mhm.
doing? What are you doing? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
trying to stick up for me, right? And the guy's like, what? Looking at him sideways. And then our homie's like, you want to go outside? You want to go outside, right? And then I'm like, yo, what are you doing, man? Goes outside, and just to get his ass beat, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. He got
Yep, that's where he trusted his fight
too
too much.
right? Got punched in his nose, right?
Trusted it too much.
I'm like, yo, stop. I don't want to see this, please, bro. Like, no, yeah, it was so bad.
The ego was too big.
Too big.
Yep.
Wrecked his Kobe's because they're all in the dirt. It was just so bad.
And that's the instant where the flight is better.
And he tells me, I want to do boxing. That's what he said. I want to do boxing.
Fair enough. Hey, he learned.
I felt so
He learned that
bad,
day.
bro. I'm telling you. Just trying to stick up for me, just to get his ass beat. And the guy apologized to me already.
So it was all good.
It was all good.
Like,
It's
like, yo, you
yeah, so extra. Exactly. I'm like, bro.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
On that note, I kind of feel that because for me, I can relate to Tyson. I trust my body too much.
Yeah.
I've put it through hell and it's still here. But in understanding that, I can kind of like as I've gotten older and once I stopped going to the gym and once I kind of more focused on my health, I understood that that was not something that I could keep doing. So in that way, I know now more now so what my limits are because I pushed them. Because I know that back then when I was going to the gym, like you said, 6 days a week, I was playing basketball 4 hours a day. I was doing other activities like soccer, boxing, all of this. My body, like, it was handling it, but it wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I could definitely feel that there were little things off here and there every once in a while.
I would be feeling good.
I learned what the tiny little, like, say my shoulder's starting to hurt. Now that's gonna mess up my knee. Now it's going to mess up my left ankle. Like, I understand if I wreck one part of my body, where it affects other parts of my body. And in saying that, I kind of grew the knowledge of understanding what the limits are of each individual piece of my body, like my elbows, what they can handle, my knees, what they can handle, and so forth and so on, right? But for me, I would say that my flight is definitely by far the strongest. I avoid confrontation like it's the plague. You'll never catch me in a confrontation at all, ever. Literally, I avoid it so consistently that it's subconscious at this point. I don't even consciously avoid it. It just gets avoided because of what I do and because of the actions that I take.
A lot of confrontations and a lot of problems and all that kind of stuff are straight ego filled.
Most of them. Yep.
100%.
I agree with that.
But with the next like three topics that you kind of wanted to talk about, they kind of a little bit go hand in hand.
Yeah, they all piggyback. So with this one, I'll let you start it, but I just want to say what it is. We're going to start with thoughts.
Okay. Let me wipe my eye here.
Yeah, no worries. So that we're going to start with thoughts, then we're going to go into feelings, and then we're going to say how that all relates to emotions. And you might be thinking that feelings and emotions are the same, but they aren't in a way, and we'll explain why.
Oh, the struggle of these lights, bro.
Make you tired?
And my eyes, man, they make me water.
You should almost put eye drops in before.
Sometimes I do, but this time I didn't. I definitely should have. I'm going to try and remember that each time. But when it comes to thoughts, I watched this video the other day. Again, Jay Shetty. I study this guy. I'm not going to lie to you. He's a very smart individual, but he has this theory, and he called it System 1 and System 2. So System 1, you can kind of relate that to like a child mind, something that gives people or thoughts or scenarios an immediate reaction. So if you say something, I'm immediately going to get defensive and be like, oh, I don't agree with that.
So like a reactionary mindset. They
100%.
react to everything.
100%. They're only worried about the short time kind of things. And I would call that like just like our mind. I would just call that our mind in general. And you'll get what I'm saying when I explain System 2. So System 2, I'd relate that more of an adult mind, and it thinks more about the long-term reaction. So instead of, like we said, giving you a reaction, said, oh, you think this? What? Fuck? You know what I mean? I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Whatever. I can improve. Yeah, whoop-de-whoop, whatever the case. But I like the comparison he made when he called it your mind versus your intelligence. So System 1 would be your mind. System 2 would be your intelligence. So your mind wants to take over. Your mind wants to give immediate reactions and say, no, you think that? No, you did that. And immediately point fingers back and all that kind of stuff. But when your intelligence takes over, you can really evaluate a situation and think about it and know, how should I respond to this? Is it worth it if I get riled up? Do I have to defend myself right now? Should I sit back, listen to what this person's saying, and reevaluate, hey, what did I do wrong? So that's just what I related to. I think that System 1 and System 2 are very important. I think that one of the most important steps in like self-awareness and just everything in general is like learning that there even is two systems. Because I didn't really know that there was two systems up until like a couple years ago, and I didn't even really understand what each system entailed. So now I'm starting to figure out, hey, this one's that, this one's that. When I get upset and defensive and whatever the case, and I don't like how things are going, I don't like how the podcast was, I don't like what Bree said, whatever the case, that's system one. Not to be like, no, let my intelligence take over. Let's relax, meditate,
Take the
think.
pointers, see which one adds up.
Hell yeah, man. So that's my take on that. So what do you guys think?
So I guess I'll start off with my opinion, then we'll get into Bashar's. But for me, the thoughts, I agree with you when you're saying like the two steps. Definitely, the thought is a very broad topic.
Yeah.
And your intelligence is kind of what brings all of your different thoughts into the center where you can actually evaluate them and understand them and see what you're actually thinking. And in certain situations, your thoughts can sometimes be not helpful because you're thinking about the worst possible case scenario. You're thinking of all the negatives. And the positives are obviously, there's usually a lot less positives than there's negatives. So the positives kind of get blocked. They get shaded. The sun gets shaded by a cloud, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of what the negative is, the cloud, and the sun is the positive. So in your mind, the step one, there is only clouds. There is no rays of sunshine coming through. You're not seeing any of the positives, regardless of how many there might be or how few there might be. You're not even allowing your brain to think of those positives. And I feel like you kind of said it good with the step two, your intelligence. Your intelligence is being able to open up the cloud to certain ideas. So yeah, there might be a whole bunch of negatives, but let's see what the positive is. Let's scratch the positive off and see if that kind of outweighs some of the negatives. So the intelligence would just be letting the sun through, letting little rays of sunlight go through, hit the ground, and seeing what happens. Like, obviously a lot of our life is lived through our head, both in like how we want to do things and how things are actually done. We have a view of what we should be doing in our head majority of the time. We go through scenarios, we go through different thoughts, and we play different things out in our head a lot.
We've talked about that quite a bit. The should self versus what you're doing self.
Yeah, and they're not always good, but that's good to play them out in your head. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the intelligence comes in, to allow yourself to think certain things and let it go through, let it process, let the scenario happen, and see what the positives and the negatives are of that scenario. So I feel like that's my take on like how you can kind of be better in your thoughts by just allowing the thought to mature, allowing it to be there, and not just always striking it down, because even if it's bad, you can still learn from it. You can still take the intelligence, and even if the downsides aren't as good as the upsides, it still might not be a good decision in the long run. Even if you're gaining something from it, though, it doesn't always mean it's good.
I think if you use system 2 more often than you use system 1, you're going to be in a good position no matter what. But I like what you said when you were talking about the negatives and the positives, and how the negatives are a lot more and normally a lot stronger. I kind of wanted to bring up this point that I just thought about. If we think about it, like, look back at TV shows, at movies, at superheroes, all that kind of stuff. It kind of sounds crazy to say, but ain't it wild how the supervillain always dies like 10 to 100 times? And they come back. They die and come back. Die, come back. And the supervillains are always so hard to get rid of. So you know what I mean? Like, kind of.
Why is it like that?
Why is it like that? I could kind of relate that to life.
Because there's just so much negativity in life. You're never going to get rid of negativity.
Dude,
it's impossible.
I like that analogy a lot.
And I'll just piggyback off of this. The bad guy's not always the bad guy.
That's what I'm saying.
He's the bad guy in our eyes, but that doesn't mean his thought isn't for the better of the world. Just because, let's take Thanos. Everybody knows who Thanos is. I mean, if you watch any Marvel movie in the last 4 years, you know who that is. His idea to reduce population wasn't a bad idea. In a way, he was right. Humans cannot operate under our population. But the way he did it wasn't right. The idea that he had, proper idea. It was correct. But the way he went about it wasn't the correct way.
I understand.
And that's why he was viewed as the villain, even though he wasn't doing something that was negative to the future.
Oh, for sure.
I'd say some villains are like pretty good. Like, not like bad, but sometimes they turn out to be good. You know what I mean? You just gotta change them a little bit, help them out. You know, sometimes they need that extra hand to turn good.
Sometimes it's just the step 1 and step 2. Sometimes they only have phase 1. Sometimes the supervillain doesn't have phase 2, so they don't know how to properly articulate their thoughts into an action.
Big time. Lots of times in those scenarios and stuff, we'll be looking through the closed-minded view.
Yep.
And then once we open our mind, we can maybe be like, hey, no, there is some good in that.
Yeah.
But I heard this quote the other day. I think it was Steve Harvey who said it. But he said this, whether you want to relate it to a religious standpoint or not, but the devil will leave those who are doing wrong alone.
Mm-hmm. He
know
wants to
what
go
I'm
for those
saying?
that are good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing right in your life and you're doing
He's-
and right and all these good services and stuff, the devil's gonna try and stop you from doing that.
Well,
He's
he's
gonna try to
coming
give
in
you a little.
hard.
He's gonna give you.
He's
It's gonna be
coming
the
in
snake on the
hard.
tree.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The Adam and Eve apple.
And that's why when you're doing good things, you don't really get too much reassurance because it kind of sounds bad. Like the upper power that you look at, whether it be God or whatever the case, God is not gonna like talk to and
Yeah.
continuously pull on those who are doing right. They're only gonna go after those who are doing bad to try and change their path.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the devil's gonna try and change your path if you're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that when I heard him say that the devil leaves those who are doing. God damn. He said when the devil leaves those who are doing wrong alone. I really liked it.
You just gotta be. You just gotta be mentally strong.
Yeah. So let's get into what your idea is, because we haven't really
I'll
touched
say-
on what your perception of
I'll-
thoughts are. I
would say
guess.
for me, I'm a little different, man. For me, I let my thoughts they just come naturally, right? Like you guys don't really like when all the negative things come in or whatever, but not gonna lie, I like when I fail. You know what I mean? I like it. I like when I'm not doing good in something because it only makes me want to do better. You know
So
what I
would
mean?
you say you're more of a
Conquer
more.
reactionary person then? You like reacting to things, like on the fly more than just thinking them through, I guess?
No, I would think I'm through. I wouldn't react right away. I would I would assess what's going on. But I just like when I'm failing more than succeeding. I like when I like when good things happen, obviously.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
feels good in my body. But I like to fail more than I like to be successful. You know what I mean?
So in your
I want to.
so in your head, when you do fail, what kind of thoughts
It
go
makes
through your head?
it
Like,
makes
what do
me-
you think specifically? Well, like, do you tell yourself anything when you're failing?
Yeah, I'm
Do
like
you
what
pick yourself up? Like, what
yeah,
words do you say?
And that's what I mean. Like even in situations where we're very competitive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys beat me in something or whatever. That's a little example. It's like, damn, I wanna I like when you guys beat me. I like when I lose. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
makes it like you're only gonna get me 10 times harder after. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so that's why I like and that's why I like when my thoughts come is because it's like, all right, well if that happened, let's see what we can do better. You know what I mean? Let's try to like conquer that or overcome it. See
Mhm.
what we can do. You know what I mean? To do better. And that's why I like when my thoughts give me a little bit of negatives. Because it'll only make me better in the long run. I mean, it is kind of crazy to say because it's like, damn, why do you like your
No,
negatives
no.
more than your positives?
No.
But I honestly do like them more.
So
I like
in
that a
saying
lot.
that, since we heard our three, I'm gonna ask you guys a simple question. It's just basically you pick one or the other. Are you more of a reactionary type of mindset or more of a calm type of mindset?
I'd say very calm.
I like very calm too.
And see, for you, Bashar, I would say it's the opposite. I would say
Yeah.
you lean more on your reactions. You do have the calm side, but like you saying that you like just to be wrong more than to be right, to have the negative more than have the positive. You like reacting to the negatives more. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I feel like you are more of a reactionary person.
I'd say I'm reactive.
Because the calm is there. You're right. The calm is there. But just looking through my eyes and the way I see you handle certain situations, you're definitely more of a reactionary type of
I will.
person.
It just depends what kind of situation.
I definitely would say, because
I
I've
think
seen
so.
Bashar react way more to situations than I have seen him just sit back and think. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can name 3 or 4 situations where something's happened and Bashar's, boom, already there.
You think so?
Well,
I
we're
don't
on a
know.
basketball court. This guy almost fought somebody
Yeah,
because he was
but-
talking.
Yeah,
but
but
that's a react. In my
But that
head,
wasn't-
I
that
would've
wasn't because
backed
of
up.
Bashar's reaction.
Yeah,
though.
he's coming to me.
yeah,
know what
but
I mean?
it was it.
That was a fight or flight, and it's like, do I either get beat up right now or stand up for myself?
Exactly.
But like Bashar was definitely egging him on. Come on, we're
I
not
just
gonna
don't
we're not gonna
think
say
on the
Bashar
court,
had no. Yeah,
But
that's
regardless of
insane.
that situation, regardless of the whole fight situation, I think that you can like the negatives and like failing while still not being a reactionary person. Because
Fair.
I think that it takes calmness and takes thinking about the long term in order to accept your negative. Because I feel like a person who doesn't like negatives is a reactionary person, because if they don't like negatives, something bad happens, you're like, oh, but
There always something's coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're
It's-
saying
but you
it.
can get your ass kicked in something and be like, okay, I'm gonna come back better next time.
That's what I mean.
That's a very calm
It's
approach.
And see,
calm.
for me, I would say that my mind is so calm that I don't even have the negatives because I expect them.
That's what
That's
I
how
mean.
calm my head is. I've already,
What do you mean by that? Like by the negatives?
like by any possible negative outcome, that can happen, I've already expected it. So no matter what happens, it can't be viewed as negative because it's part of the plan. I've already planned it out. If something, let's just put something into, say I'm going to go left or I'm going to go right, and there's only two paths. You can only pick one. I expect both of them to be bad. So if I pick one and it's bad, that's already part of the plan. So in my head, that's like kind of the calm way of viewing things. You're always going to be expecting negatives, and positives are just going to be a cherry on the top. For me, at least, that's how I view it.
I would say we all have a reaction in us. It just depends how it comes to us. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That is actually true.
I think that it's so crazy because we can think such different ways and still be like technically a calm
That's what I mean.
personality. Because I actually recently started to completely change how I looked at that kind of stuff. Like I only look for the best case scenarios. It kind of sounds crazy, but I stopped saying what's the worst that could happen or what's the worst case scenario. Now I'm always like, hey, what's the best that could happen? What's the best case scenario? Because I don't know why it definitely sounds optimistic and stuff, and I'm definitely prepared for the bad situations. It's not like I'm ignoring them, but in my mind, I just believe that if I manifest the best things that can happen, that there's a better chance that those do happen. And it's not like I said, it's not like I just block out the negatives or anything like that because
you just give them less weight.
What would you say? What would you say that helped you guys a lot? Like, what made you so like calm in situations?
I don't know, but before I ask that, I wanted to touch on something you said. I really like how you said the God damn, man!
What?
I should have wrote it.
This guy's
The
not following
negatives.
his own rules.
What?
I was about to say the negatives, bro.
Well, how like you like
you
them
know
more?
what? That's
like
why you
them
have
more?
that. That's why you have the notebook.
Hey, it is, but guess what? I remember. You were saying how you like negatives more than positives, right? And I was saying how I was the type of guy, but like you were saying, who never used to like the negatives, always used to try and redirect them, and I still try to redirect them, but just kind of block them out, I guess. We kind of talked about this a couple of other podcasts, but if I block out the negative emotions, I'm also going to block out the positive emotions. So I had to learn, like you were saying, to be super accepting of my failures.
Yes.
Like, no, it's okay to fail. I'm
It's
okay.
That's
And I
what
feel like that
mean.
can go
Embrace
both
that.
ways too. You can be only focused so much on the good that you don't take the bad with the good. You know, like you don't think. I feel like that is a balance. You have to think about the good, but you also have to be prepared for the bad.
Yeah.
And the
Like
only way to be prepared for it is to think of it.
Let's say it all together. We'll go like this. 3, 2, 1. Balance.
Ah.
You already know the deal, baby. How many times do we say that, man?
Facts.
That
It's-
is the
it like
key.
works for everything.
Balance.
It is the
That's
key.
life. Life is balance.
It's crazy.
And I
It's
just wanted
wild.
to add, like to be, obviously, I think you guys agree, but like to be successful, we have to fail. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have to fail lots of times, man. It's that 1% or not even a percent of a thing that you can get very lucky to where you don't have to really fail much and you'll be successful. You know what I mean?
I just want to say one thing before we move. I don't think, and this we can kind of talk about this when we talk about karma in another episode, so I just want to say it briefly, but I don't think there's a such thing as luck. I think that your actions give you a better result if it's consistent. It gives you a higher rate of good things happening. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're doing something consistent and you're doing something without fail or without waver, you trust yourself, you're going to give yourself more opportunities to get, I guess, lucky. In a way, it's not luck. You worked to that higher increased chance of having something happen.
Maybe we just didn't see it.
You just have to keep working. And eventually something will happen. It's life. You know what I'm saying? It's not always going to be the same.
And that's where I feel like that's where people mess up a lot or give up a lot is like when they fail the first time or the second time. You know what I mean? It's like they're not happy with themselves. They're like, damn, what did I do wrong? Or what happened there? You know what I mean?
That's a good segue. I was just going to say that's a great segue into our next topic, which is your feelings. So we talked about your thoughts. Now let's talk about how your feelings react to your thoughts. So I just want to know, what kind of feelings do you guys have when you experience something negative? Like, what's your first emotion? Or I guess, what's the first thing you feel?
I would say for me, like, I'm not saying I like the negatives to an extreme. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, like, if something bad really happens as negative, I'm going to like it. Obviously not. But I like the negatives to where it makes me want to do better. Do you know what I mean?
So what kind of emotions do you have, though, when you get something negative?
The emotions I have, I would say, is like, what did I do wrong?
Okay,
And
so
what did I do
confusion.
better? What can I do better? Those are the two things that I always get when I get a negative that affects me. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I also look on the good side. It's like, okay, what did I do like decently on the good side to where I could have done better? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I get when it's like a negative, it only pushes me to do better. I know I said that like a lot of times, but it only makes me want to do better. That's literally the only thing that it's literally the only emotion that I get in my head or feeling in like my stomach and my mind is like, what can I do better? That's the only thing that I get. And it makes me wanna do better. You know what I mean?
So to put that in like
What-
motion, because
and the-
those are. Pardon? Just
And
continue.
the thing is, I won't get the same negative thought more than once. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I already had got it, and I already had figured out why I got it and why I can do better on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So like instead of like, I guess what you're saying is you're saying more thoughts. I want to get like what feelings. Like,
What
are you
feelings I get?
happy? Are you sad? Are you confused? Are you angry? Are you like those raw emotions that you feel when something
I
bad
probably-
happens? Do you feel good? Do you feel bad? Like, are
It's
you
probably
sad,
a mix of
happy?
everything.
So, well, obviously it's not going to be everything, but like, what are a few of the things, like a few of the specific emotions that you feel?
Well, when I get like a negative,
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably a little bit more between happy
Mm-hmm.
and
Like, is it sad? Is it mad? Is it
no,
angry?
I only get mad at myself when I know I could have done better but messed up. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's only when I get like when I
So,
get a little bit upset at
Mm.
myself. It's like, damn man, why the fuck did you like? What the hell is wrong with you? Type. I like kick myself in the ass. Type.
but most of the
Think
time
it
you would
all.
say that your only emotion is happy when you feel negative.
But like for example, if I get beat up in a boxing ring,
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Do
So
you know
you're
what I mean?
happy.
I'm happy. I like that feeling. It may
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys think of it as a negative, but because you got beat up, but I like that feeling. You know what I mean? I like when I get beat up because then the next time you go there, you learned.
So
You know what you
mhm,
did wrong.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Like maybe you could figure out what you did right,
Mhm.
but most of it is you did something wrong. You know what I mean?
So you enjoy the feeling of overcoming an obstacle.
Yes.
So that's where your happiness from a negative would come from.
Yeah.
You're happy that you have the chance to overcome
Something.
some obstacle that was maybe if you didn't overcome it would make you sad or mad.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
those are more of the core emotions that you would feel with a negative, right?
Mhm. What would you say?
So I guess for me personally, when I experience a negative in my life, like I said, I like to expect the negatives because in my life, the negative usually is always happening. Whatever negative I expect usually happens. So I'm always prepared for it. But I like kind of what you said, like I like to be happy that I have the experience or the opportunity to overcome something.
Mhm.
So in that way, I do get some type of joy from a negative, but majority of the time, negative obstacles just cause me anxiety. Not really a happy emotion, not really a negative emotion,
It's just
ju-
there.
just an anxiety to have like if something negative happens to me that I'm not ready for, it's an anxiety because I haven't already thought of it. So now I have to go through my head. I have to think about what happened. I have to think about where I went wrong in that. And I have to reevaluate the whole situation, the whole scenario. And that's just kind of where the anxiety for me comes from. Because if it happened and I wasn't prepared for it, I now have to think as why was I not prepared for it? Why didn't I think of it already happening? So that's just I guess it would be anxiety, but also kind of a deep happiness, like you said.
Mhm.
That's
And I also want to add, just like be patient. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
Be like just be patient with yourself. Like
Mhm.
allow yourself to be calm. You know what I mean?
to
Don't.
feel those emotions.
Yeah, it's all right. Don't like go crazy. Like obviously anxiety is there. It's always gonna happen, and it's always gonna be there. And sometimes you can control it. Sometimes you can. But just try to like relax. You know, breathe.
But that's the difference between a calm mindset and a
Yeah.
reactionary mindset.
Yeah.
Reactionary mindsets don't have the ability just to sit back and kind of, for lack of a better term, go out of your own body. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's more of the calm mindset. You go out of your own body and you look from a
Evaluate.
third person
Yeah.
view, and that's what allows you to kind of come to a better
Obviously, way
realization.
easier said than done. Like
Mhm.
I'm not even at 100% at it. You know
No,
what I mean?
yeah, I'm
I
not
still,
even close.
but I just try to think of it that way.
So
As long as we practice.
So what
Yeah.
about you, Tyson? We've got kind of what our ideas were
Yeah.
about it. So what about you? When a negative emotion happens, what's the first feeling that comes to you? What's the first raw emotion that you feel?
Um, Definitely when a negative happens, my first raw emotion, I can't control it, which system one, this is system one, which immediately thinks this is my immediate reaction because regardless of even if I try to enforce system two, system one's gonna pop up. Just a matter of how long it lasts for myself. So system one comes up and it's like sympathy, sad, mad, all this kind of stuff. Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? Was it me? Did I do something? Kind of feel, I guess you could say, sad and a little bit sympathetic for myself. You know what I mean? Kind of looking almost a tad bit playing a pity party. And I was bad at that a while ago, but I've gotten slightly better. But then when system two starts to kick in, I kind of become a little bit thankful. Like you guys were saying. Like I'm thankful that this opportunity presented itself. I'm thankful that I lost, whether it was close or I got my ass kicked, whatever it was. I'm thankful for the opportunity now that I can get better at something. So I wrote down thankfulness, reflectiveness, and insightfulness, which is basically all the same thing. I like to look at the, like you said, look at the situation from an upper view, you know what I'm saying? Bird's eye view, and evaluate what can I get better at.
So that brings us into our last kind of part of this topic, I guess. And like we said, the last three topics are all related. So the thoughts are the initial thoughts that pop in your head. Your feelings are how you react, or like your feelings are how your body reacts to that initial thought. But your emotions, like you said, the first two only involve step one. So step one with your thoughts and step one with your feelings. But your emotions is step two, where you bring your thoughts and your feelings together to understand and help change how you feel. So your emotions, I guess, are in a way a combination of your thoughts, your feelings, and just how you compare those two. So some people's thoughts are more than their feelings, and some people feel more than they think. Your emotions are tied to both of those. So if you have too much thinking to how you feel, you're not going to be as emotionally open. The same goes with if you feel too much and you don't, or if you feel too much and you don't think about those emotions, they're not going to be the same. You know what I'm saying? So you need to kind of have a equal balance between your thoughts, the step one of your thoughts, and the step one of your feelings, and that'll help you analyze and realize your emotion. So where you're emotionally at right now. So do you guys think I just want to pose one question. Do you think you guys have the ability to change your emotions on a snap, or do your emotions take a little bit longer to kind of adjust?
I would say for me, like I'm not gonna lie, I'm an emotional person because I'm just like naturally like how do I put this? Like in any situation, I'm gonna try to help somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like even for myself, like if I see like a homeless man or whatever the case is, I feel bad. Like I'm emotional for him. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how did he put himself in that situation? But for myself, I would be emotional for a certain type of thing, like for my family or for people that I care about or stuff like that. But if you put me in a situation where I have to turn my emotions off, I probably could.
Well, it's not just about turning your emotions off, but it's more about understanding your emotions and understanding which side you lean on. Like I said to start the topic, some people feel more, some people think more. So like what you said, I think you're a person that you feel.
Yeah,
you feel
I'd
more
say
and you
more.
think a little bit less than you feel.
Yeah.
So you kind of go off those raw feelings more than you go off your raw thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I got from what you just said.
I could agree with that.
Okay, and then I just want to know what you say before I get into how and you kind of piggyback on what Bashar said. Just which side do you think you lean towards?
I think that for me, it takes me a while to adjust my feeling or adjust my emotions. Sorry. So if I'm like sad for a day or something like that, I'm probably gonna be sad for a majority of that day. It's hard for me to switch
right away
and just get into a happy mood and stuff like that. But I think that actually works for the benefit of myself because I used to be the type of person who used to just switch, and I guess for the lack of a better like way to explain it, I kind of just took my emotions and shoved them under a rug. You know what I mean? And I'd quickly turn them off. I wouldn't deal with it. I'll just, all right, I'm sad. Boom, get out of here. I'm not supposed to be sad. Like I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be happy. Good moods. But now when I'm sad or something negative happens, like we were saying, I really try and evaluate, and I really try and embrace those emotions, because I feel like I'm not going to be able to embrace anything good that happens to me if I don't embrace all the bad stuff that happens.
So from
That's
what
the balance that I get.
so from what I'm hearing, you're more of a thought process
Yeah,
type of person.
definitely.
You like to think it through. You like to evaluate more
Most
by
definitely.
what in your head, not by what you feel.
Definitely.
Mhm.
I'm definitely a thinker. I think in all the time, man. This mind don't stop. There's
Mhm.
probably a lot of people who can relate to that. You
That-
guys as well.
I was just gonna say that's
I
actually
don't.
I would say that I am more so a thinker than a feeler, and probably more on the unhealthy side of things for a thinker than a feeler. Like I don't really allow myself to feel many emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather take the logical approach and think about those emotions. And it sounds weird to say that you can think about emotion but not feel an emotion. It's more like you dull your senses to the emotion.
Which can be really
It can
detrimental.
it can be both good and it can be both bad. On
Mhm.
both sides of the spectrum, it has its ups and it has its downs, right?
Mhm.
So for myself, I definitely lean very, very heavily onto the thought side, opposed to the feeling side. But for me, over the years, I've allowed myself to look at the feeling side of it,
Yeah.
look at it through those glasses, but not allow it to affect me. Like I'll feel, hey, in this situation, how should I feel? Like, should I feel bad about the situation? Should I feel good about the situation? And then I kind of think about where that process would lead me, and I build a scenario in my head. And through that, I learn which side I should take.
Mhm.
But for me, that comes definitely more from the analytical side and through the thought side of it.
Yep.
So just to kind of bring everything back together, I want to go through the 5 things that we said today. So the first one was self-perception. Second one was body. Then we went to thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
Mhm.
So to end this off, because we are getting to the end of our podcast now, I want you guys to kind of think, and we can take a minute, at what percentage level do you think you are at in every single category? So what percentage do you think you have idea of your self-identity? What percentage do you trust your body? What percentage do you have over your thoughts, your emotions, and feelings? Like, what's your percentage? Because obviously nobody's at 100. Nobody's
Mhm.
perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you guys think you are on the line?
I think I have a little bit of a weird take on this. I think.
Me too.
I think that for myself, I'm gonna say 50%. But I think that
For everything individually?
everything individually.
So
I'm
you
gonna
think
say
they're all the equal?
I think I'm all equal, and that's where. That's kind of where I think that for myself, that's the happiest place to be. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, because like I've been trying to say, I really am in the process right now of embracing everything bad and everything good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to really, like you said, really avoid everything bad.
Mm-hmm.
I would not deal with it. And it really did play a role on how my emotions were and how my mood was and stuff. It got to the point where I just had mental breakdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on my way to work crying. I'm saying on my way home from work crying, calling Brianna. That's because I'm shoving all that stuff under the rug. It was not healthy.
It's all
so
bottled up.
exactly for myself, if this makes sense to say, I know it can sound a little bit confusing with what I'm trying to get at, but I think that if I try to have them all in the middle and kind of keep them all balanced there, I think that's the happiest place for myself.
But do you right now think they're all in the middle?
Um,
Because I feel like there's some things of us that we're better at than others. Like, for instance, I can say this confidently. All 3 of us have a better understanding of our body than any other category that I just said.
100%. I was gonna say that's the only thing that I have higher
I
than
don't
everything
know.
else.
Yeah, I definitely would say that all of us know that more. And that's just based on our experiences, based on us in the past, based on everything that I know of us, right? But
I would say
obviously each
I don't know.
individual person has a different understanding of where they're at in
Mhm.
that, right? But
that's what I mean. I don't know if I'm confident to say that for myself.
fair enough.
I think that I do think that I'm really in the middle of finding all this stuff out.
So for you,
Mhm.
you'd say all 5 or 50%? Or
I'd
that's what
say-
you're hoping for?
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It would take me probably quite some time of evaluation to.
To really
really
come
break
up with a
down.
number?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna
Okay.
lie to you.
So we'll
But
just
that's
leave
my
it at that.
ideal.
Your ideal is 50%.
50%.
That's fair.
That's just my idea. I really want to start in trap. I want to be the stillness in the motion and the motion in the stillness.
Mhm.
If you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand.
Some
that.
yin yang
Mhm.
stuff.
So what about you, Bashar? Where would you say, and you can go specifically or you can go an overall, but where are you now? Or / if you don't know where you are now, where do you hope to be on each single part of them?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'd agree with what you said. I'd say like the self-perception one. I would say that one's pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know where
just give
my
a number.
body stands.
Just give a number
know-
for each one, like
I would
out of
say, like,
100%.
I would say 80.
80% for the
Yeah.
perception of who you are.
Yep.
Okay, and then what
Perfect.
about your
And
body?
then other, my body,
Mm-hmm.
I would say,
What's your understanding of that?
like physically wise.
Yeah, physically and like you said, emotionally as well. Like there's certain emotions that we feel through our body.
I would say
So your understanding of
65%.
both. Okay, and then what about your thoughts and your feelings
And my
and your
thoughts and my feelings
emotions?
be like 50.
So all three of those are 50, and then you
Yeah.
said 80 and 75. Sorry,
65.
65. Okay,
Yeah.
so 80, 65, and then all 50. See, that's not terrible.
What do
No.
you think?
Obviously, like you said, if everything's at 50, if that's where you want it to be, do you have kind of a benchmark where you want your emotions to be?
I want to be able to control them more.
So you would say you kind of want all of them to be around that 65, 70
Yeah,
mark.
but that's hard. You know what I mean? That's hard to
Well,
get.
you're already there for 2.
Yeah.
If you already have
Yeah,
2
that's
out of
true.
5 there, the last 3 are arguably easier than the first 2. I would say that self-perception in your body is a lot harder to get under like control than your emotions, your feelings, and your thoughts.
Think
For me,
so?
that's opposite.
For me, it's opposite too.
I feel like for a lot of people, just the idea of who they are is the hardest one. That right there, I feel like that's just
What would
number
you
one.
say is for you?
So for me, I would say the idea of who I am, I have pretty high. I have it at like roughly 80, 85%. I would say 80 to 90, somewhere around that. I'm pretty confident who I am as a person.
Mhm.
And that goes the same for my understanding of my body. I feel like that's around 80% as well.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the thoughts I have up there at like 75. But the feelings and the emotions are definitely at like the 30 mark, 30, 40.
And what can you do to make that better? Like higher.
Honestly, and it sounds weird to say it, but I would have to seek professional help. Like I would need to go see a therapist in order to get those numbers higher. Because through like obviously self-evaluation, I've raised those numbers, but those numbers used to be 0.
Mm-hmm.
So like where they are now is great,
From
but
yourself.
from myself. But where they are now is good. 30% is not terrible.
Yeah.
Obviously, it can be better, but there's a wall to what I can achieve alone.
No, for sure. I feel like a lot of people are gonna relate to that, and if you haven't looked at it through that lens, look at it through that lens.
Mhm.
I feel like that's a healthy way to look at it.
You can't always do everything by yourself.
There's a crazy strength in being able to
Seek help.
and like let's just call this, just for like lack of a better word, just losing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just the whole like aspect of like putting yourself in the B spot and being like,
Mhm.
no, I'm gonna look for, like you said, either help or look
Mhm.
for, maybe he's gonna teach me something in a sport or whatever
Mhm.
the case, to be
Some
able to
type
be
of
vulnerable.
betterment, because you can't always do it yourself. Like you said, you need help in certain areas of your life, and it takes
100%.
a real man to admit that he needs help.
And I'm trying to get to that point in my life that every single conversation I have with people, I'm trying to get at that 50%. I'm
Mhm.
trying to give you some knowledge, but I'm also trying to make you feel heard and take what you say. No
Mhm.
matter if I think it's smart or not, I'm going to take what you say into
Mhm.
consideration.
Mhm.
Because as a man that has an open mind and is going to show you respect, I owe you the simple act of listening to what you have
Mhm.
to say, because you just listened to me. But you listened to what I
Mhm.
said, so I owe you, man.
Mhm.
I owe you guys.
And-
I have to listen to you guys. I have to. You listen to me, and I appreciate that. So I have to sit down and listen to what you guys feel.
And that's something that I got very, very good at a very young age, and that's also why I'm very analytical.
Mhm.
It's because I had that broad view of like many, many different ideologies before I was the age of 7. I had 8 different families. So
Showing
at that
all
point, you
different types, hey?
got 8 different views of life, 8 different conversations, 8 different
yeah.
reactions to certain emotions. So
Sure.
that's where I definitely, but that's also why I guess I turned off a lot of those emotions and feelings, because of that wide variety.
Yeah.
I just took it all analytically.
I know what you're saying.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Anyways, I feel like today we did a really good job at being specific in the way that we feel and bringing that topic with a new light, because like you said, we have talked a lot about self-awareness
It's a tough one, though.
in its certain aspects. We've talked a lot about it in relating to certain aspects.
Mm-hmm.
But today I feel like we did a good broad analysis about the 5 main ways of self-perception. And I feel like to end it off, who wants to end it off? Do the outro?
Do you want to? Or you want me to?
You do it.
You want me to? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree with you, though. Just to finish up, I think that was a solid podcast. And
And don't
This
forget
is-
to tell us what you guys think, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good damn
Like,
point. Didn't even
yeah.
ask him one time yet.
Yeah. Like, what do you guys? How do you
Yeah.
guys feel about all that?
We gotta get
For
better.
sure.
I did a lot of
Yeah.
that last podcast, but I definitely
Yeah.
forgot about this one.
It's all good though.
Whatever.
Happens.
Well,
We gotta try to include you guys. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
yeah, exactly.
We're not just doing this for us.
Yeah,
It may
exactly.
seem like that. We're just doing it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
our, you know.
We're trying.
Our
We're trying to talk to you
advancements.
guys.
This is a therapy session for you guys too. Free
Yeah,
therapy.
literally. No, it's. I learned a lot from each of these podcasts, and I hope that everybody watching does as well. And it's just this. All these things that we talk about on here are something that I continuously try to work on.
Everybody should try to work on
Everybody
them. And
Exactly.
no matter how old you are, there is something in this podcast that you are not doing at a proficient level.
For
Unless,
sure.
like, there's literally nobody that's perfect at every single aspect of what we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are,
Yeah, come teach
you won
us.
life.
Yeah, come teach us.
Literally.
Because we're trying to figure it out. That's why we're talking about all this stuff.
Facts.
All these are pretty much ideologies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All just ideas.
Different ways of life.
For
There's
sure.
many different aspects to life, and we're kind of trying to cover all of the different aspects that we can with our knowledge that we have right now.
Definitely. It sounds super duper crazy to say, but we can single-handedly control how we feel.
Yep.
Thank you guys for joining in on another episode of OneThird Podcast. This was episode number 37. We talk a little bit about awareness, confidence, and all that kind of jazz. So you work for 1/3 of your life, you sleep for 1/3 of your life, and what are you going to do with the rest? Like, share,
1/3
subscribe, baby.
out.
Let us know what you think about the topics.